What is up, everybody? Monday, August 26th. We took one trade, giving us one W. And so as you can see, it is a short trade. Now, the reason why we came in short to the market today. So if we take a look at the previous action that we've had, we've been running on up, as you know, and based on my other videos, I have been bullish, looking for us to get into this draw on liquidity up here at 20,085. Now that does come with some kind of risk because we've just been consistently moving on up without any kind of retracement to rebalance some of these fair value gaps that we have here. Now, we noticed that we had a big drop on Thursday last week. It created a 4-hour market structure shift right here. Price did not tap into this low, which is also coincidentally the beginning of a weekly fair value gap. And I'll get into that in a little bit. We started to move back on up. Friday, we created a high and a low on this 4-hour wick or 4-hour candle, and we didn't move much. Then the following candle, we just had a very small movement. That brings us to Sunday night. We started to move back on up. Now, here is why I became short biased. Let's switch it up to the 1-hour time frame. We see that price dropped hard. If we were going to continue to move on up and this was only going to be some sort of a liquidity sweep, we would have had some kind of movement like this, where at least overnight, I would have expected us to hit this high. I wanted to see a hourly close above this fair value gap right here to be able to switch back to being bullish. But because overnight we didn't get that, we actually moved up into that. London taking out the Asian session high and then rejecting off of that was more than enough confirmation to me that this was going to end up moving back on down. Now, let's take a look at the 15-minute time frame. We had to look for the invalidation point for that bearish bias. We had a 15-minute fair value gap that was hanging around right here, but the one that really caught our attention was this 15-minute fair value gap and this 1-hour fair value gap that we had right there as well. So just to make this cleaner, let's take off the quarterly cycles. We ideally wanted to see price come down and push back up into this 1-hour fair value gap, at least taking out this swing high here on the 15-minute time frame. Ideally, it would have been up here, but we didn't get that this morning. We just got to push on up and they move back on down. And when we got that move back on down, it was more than enough for us to want to go short. Like I said, London taking out the Asian session high and then just displacing down off of that very aggressively at the beginning of the New York session was just a very sure shot that we were going to continue moving downward because, like I said, I usually check to see what the swing highs and lows are and if there are any failures to make a new swing high. In this instance, right, we've created a low, we created a high, we started to create this low here. So this is a failure lower low. So that can give you some kind of bullish sentiment. Now, if you were to honor that bullish sentiment, you would have wanted a new higher high above this one. But we failed to do so, right? At the very beginning of the New York session here, we just started to sell off. And that was more than enough of a clue that we were going to continue moving on downwards, because if price really wanted to displace through this, we would have done it at the open. And that's why I was looking for that 15-minute fair value gap to get invalidated, even this 1-hour fair value gap. But we got neither of those. They supported price down. We didn't even tap this one. So let's look down at the 1-minute time frame. You'll see a couple of executions here. We had the accumulation from 9 to the 1030 cycle, which is what we usually play. We had accumulation here. Price moved down, took out this sell side level of liquidity, then moved back on up and took out that buy side level of liquidity right here, which also was tapping into a 1-hour fair value gap. Now, which manipulation move do you take into account? Well, because we were bearish, we wanted to see that push on up and then having that create a failure swing high. Now, unfortunately, I took a short trade as soon as this candle closed. You can see my executions right on the next candle. Terrible fill, by the way. And I had my stop above this high. It would have played out, but because I caught myself getting too eager to take a trade, it started to move back on up. I decided to close my trade out right there because I didn't get the confirmation that I wanted, right? We had that sweep. We created a market structure shift. Here's a 2022 model entry. Now, we are bearish. Our invalidation point is up here. No reason for us to take a long yet. We wanted to see if this was going to indeed create bullish market structure, but we have this low, we have a swing high, we have a higher low, and we have a lower high now. So this right here was your first clue to that we were not going to continue moving on higher. And then what pursues after that? We get a very strong candle close below this 1 minute bullish fair value gap. That was more than enough of a clue for me to say we're going to take this and continue to drop on down. So I got in short right there, put my stop above the prominent swing high, and I was targeting my draw on liquidity, which was, let me get that there, this swing low here. Okay, I had some right there, some I wanted really this 15-minute fair value gap, but you know, this was a good point, this was a good point, and this was the last take profit area, which you can see I took it right there. So overall was a good trade. I actually took some partials because I ended that first trade in the loss. I was too eager. I actually took out the majority of my trade here at the 15-minute fair value gap, which was a very good place for it to bounce. We clearly did not get that bounce. It was a little, I think it was about a 1-to-1 here. So I was able to get back to break even based off of this trade here, just taking profit there. Put my stops to break even, became risk free. So if I get stopped out, I ended up the day with nothing, which is totally okay. I deserve that because I was too eager with my trade. But thankfully, I was able to actually capitalize on this full move on down. Boom. I had a secondary target. I did not think we were going to hit that low, but lo and behold, we did. So this was such a solid trade. You could see that it was very evident that we were going to move down just because of that failure swing high. I mean, it even created it on the 1 minute time frame. Higher time frame, failure swing high. Lower time frame, failure swing high. Inversion fair value gap. Sitting within the distribution quarter. It was right before the beginning of it, right? And then we get the very big on move down. Very simple read on price action. Just looking at how price reacts to old highs and lows is just so important. We got that also that London move taking out the Asian session high. All of it was just pointing bearishness. There was no reason you should have been bullish today. So overall, a great trading day. Great trading plan created this morning. And hopefully you guys ended up green. I will see you all tomorrow. Peace.